Michael Irvin, you recently went to Boulder to watch Deion's team practice, then you spoke to the team. How surprised were you by what you saw Saturday?
Let me tell you something, man. When I was there with Deion, the first thing he talked about, he said, Michael, I'm comfortable with my skill guys. I'm a little worried about what goes on up front.
Absolutely.
So when I saw the way this game played out, I said, okay, I know he feels he can match up out wide. He's worried about what goes on up front, but he got rid of the ball quickly, got it to those playmakers. He said, they are going to see some speed like they haven't seen, and he was right. I mean, it was speed all over that football field.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at how that team kept fighting back. 58 transfers coming in. That kind of union you have, that's what surprised me the most. That team, every time TCU came back and scored, they came back and scored again. That says, even though they just got there, that they are together.
You mentioned the 58, try 86 new players. Anytime you have 86 new players on a 105-man roster.
Keyshawn, that's mind-blowing. 86
to bring it together.
To get this, only 6 penalties. So you talk about
right that time.
You talk about the discipline of a head coach instilling certain things into his team and his program. His coaching staff we talked about last week. I told you might be the best coaching staff in college football.
Right. Yeah,
they certainly put it on display. We could talk about the players, there's no question about it, but I'm more focused in on what Deion was able to accomplish when many people, including the odds makers, looked at a year ago, a team that played in the national championship and a team that went 1-11, like you said, Skip, goes into Fort Worth, as Michael Irvin was standing on the sideline.
Right there.
Cheering him on. Right there. Went in and unleashed on TCU.
Unleashed.
Many people didn't believe that because, like you said, Michael, the interior line. What is that? We know outside on the perimeter, skill position players are going to be phenomenal. But they held up front, and they took care of business. Now they move on to Nebraska at 1-0.
Richard Sherman, what you got?
Man, I'm surprised by everybody but Prime, because I'm surprised by the things, the unknowns. It was hot, hostile environment. It was 100 degrees. You got players that haven't played in these kind of games before. You know, even the guys he had from JSU, you know, there's a certain belief and a certain faith you got to have in your coach to win a shootout. To win a shootout against the national runner-ups in a hostile environment, first game of the season. You don't know what you got. You don't know how to trust and believe in the guys next to you. But Deion had those boys believing they can get anything done anytime, that they were the players that should win this game. It was really cool to see Dylan Edwards came on in a big way. Obviously, Travis Hunter. The 2 guys from UCF, Jimmy Horn Jr., Xavier Weaver. I mean, 4 guys, 100 yards receiving and defensively. Trevor Woods, second drive of the game, TCU starting to get some momentum. He puts that fire out immediately, makes a huge play. Huge interception. That was just great for the momentum. But when you get in a game like that, where you don't know what the outcome's going to be, like everybody gets tight. Everybody gets tight. Everybody gets jittery, especially a team that hasn't played in these kind of games together. You know, there's a lot of transfers, but not all the transfers came with Deion from JSU. So they came from different places. So I'm just so proud. And you know, just like Keyshawn said earlier before we got on the show, he got teary-eyed because it's just such a cool moment for sports in general, just to see one of your childhood heroes. He's a pillar in the sports community, in the football community, in every way, to go out there and have the kind of success he had the first day on the job with his sons, doing it his way, with his flash, his flair. Oh, give me goosebumps.
Right, now let's be real about this too. I don't know that a whole lot of coaches really wanted them to have this kind of success.
I agree with that.
Let's just be.
Why would you though? Because you know what's coming.
Because the route he took in to get into this game, the route he took in is an unconventional route. I talked about this and I love this. That he took an unconventional route. He brought Travis Hunter an unconventional route. He had his son who stepped up on this stage for the first time going an unconventional route and put up 510 yards. Key, you just talked about 4 100-yard receivers. They only had 2 all of last year, and he comes in and gets 4. It's not just that they're winning playing exciting football.
Absolutely.
Y'all saw those people in Colorado, in the streets of Colorado running around, man. I'm telling you, that heaven will be jumping next week when high noon, when big noon kickoff get to Colorado.
Agreed. So Friday, you and I were on the show here. We went back and forth about a point spread that was 3 touchdowns. It's 20 and a half points. And we both agreed they're going to cover that for sure.
Yeah.
But neither one of us could go all the way to, are they going to win the game?
Yeah.
It's just not realistic because of the lines of scrimmage. I didn't know what they had in the offensive line or the defensive line. But at halftime on Saturday, I sat back in my chair and I said, wait a second. They have the best quarterback on the field by far.
We were texting back and forth.
You and I were. They have the best receiver and the best cornerback on the field because it's the same guy. Right? It's the same guy. And they have the best breakaway back on the field, and he is a true freshman that I knew nothing about except I knew his rep. I knew, and Deion had raved about him last week. He's going to break one. He's going to break. Well, he broke about 4. Every time I looked up, he was loose, right? So if you have the 4 best players on the field at TCU against a program that is still deep in talent, you got a shot. But I'm thinking through the 100 degrees in the second half, down on the field is 110, 112. Can the lines hold up? Well, the offensive line did. The defensive line, not so much. But the offense is so explosive because these are serious, big-time, top-of-the-line playmakers that they have, speaking of playmaker. But they gave up 262 yards rushing, which I don't love. But, hey, if you can go 45 to 42 in the fourth quarter because your quarterback set the school record with 510 yards passing. He was flawless. There were 3 other balls that were dropped. We'll talk about them in just a couple of minutes. But the point is, Shedeur is big time. I didn't know for sure, will it translate to the next level of competition? Yes, it might translate to the next level of competition as he can play on Sunday.
Here's what I would say about the transferring to the next level. If you watched him at Jackson State, which I'm sure you did, but if you just watch his skill set and you, in your mind, look and say, he's going to have better players at the University of Colorado than he had at Jackson State.
Good point.
And so when you're watching him, you're saying to yourself, okay, now he has a new offensive coordinator, a guy who's a head coach before, who knows how to call plays, puts him in the right situations, and everything will clean up. All the things that we saw, his footwork, his mechanics, that stuff will clean up over time, no question about it. As far as the NFL level goes, he'll be fine when that time comes. I promise you. I said this to somebody yesterday, Sherman, we were having a conversation, and they were talking about Caleb Williams. I said, man, I'm diehard USC.
Yes, you are.
But don't tell me.
September 30th.
I'll be there. Don't tell me that Caleb Williams is head and shoulders above Shedeur. Don't do that. Don't do that.
They're 50-50?
Here's what I would say. You've seen more of Caleb. So from a mental standpoint, your mind tells you he's better.
Well,
That's not because you've seen him in more situations. But based on this kid going on the road, Sherm, going on the road in a hostile environment, the first time at a big-time Power 5 school, unleashing 500-plus yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions on him? Come on, man. If that was one of the top quarterbacks that we in the preseason doing that, we would be having a different conversation, playmaker.
We'd be having a totally different conversation. And he did it in a way that you could recognize. You could recognize it because during the offseason you heard, hey, he worked with Tom Brady. You know, and it's cliche to say, hey, somebody who worked with somebody, they're going to kind of show their game similar. But he looked like Tom Brady. As somebody who played against Tom Brady multiple times, he took what the defense gave him. The offensive coordinator, Sean Lewis, gave him a great plan so they wouldn't be exposed on that offensive line because they're inexperienced and they're not where they want to be yet. But you didn't see that. You didn't see that because they're hurrying up to the ball. They don't have time to sub. Those D linemen were tired. 3-4 plays in, they usually rotate. They usually sub out. You saw them try to sub out during that game, and Shedeur caught him. Hey, 12 men on the field. Let's get that penalty just like A-Rod does in the National Football League. But you could see, hey, if there were crossers, he hit the crossers. Hey, if I need to get it to the back early, I got it to the back. Let him get some yards for me. But then when the shots were there, you saw the discipline. Keep his head straight. Look the safety off. Find his one-on-one. You saw things that you were only going to see at the next level, and you saw how well coached he was. His footwork was there. On the touchdown to Jimmy Horn Jr. late in the second half, where he scrambled out of the pocket but reset his feet, got his hips forward, and bang, touchdown. you saw all the things, and you saw the poise. You saw the poise throughout the game. He never panicked when there was big plays being made. He was constantly coaching his receivers. Like, he showed all the intangible things. We always talk about, the intangibles. The intangible. He has a plethora of intangibles. And he has a showmanship. He has a leadership quality about him. He made the players around him better. And I think those guys will continue to believe in him and continue to follow him, man. I don't think Caleb Williams is head and shoulders. I think he does the flashy things. You know, sometimes you get a player that just got the flash, and they're talking about the Pat Mahomes. He does the throws falling out of bounds and all that. But if you talk about straight up playing the quarterback position, executing, shoulders up, he's got to be one of the best in the country, and I hope that the draft analysts see that.
Yeah,
You seeing that?
Oh, God, yes, you do. And one of the things we talked about also, we wanted to see how these guys transmute their gifts and talents to this big stage. But we also wanted to see how Deion handles this big stage. You talked about a key, 6 penalties.
Yeah, 6.
In that atmosphere, in that heat, on that stage, to have his team only give up 6 penalties, all the right decisions down the stretch. And this was a close game. So those decisions could have weighed one way or the other, could have lost the game for him, but he made all the right decisions. Just an incredible game.
And mental fatigue sets in when you playing in a hostile environment with that heat. When you only get 6 penalties, right? All of a sudden, you sitting there saying to yourself, what a disciplined football team. You didn't see Prime on the sideline acting out.
And remember, they don't allow preseason games in college football. So you're just throwing it out there and saying, I hope it works. Yeah, it worked.
You know, I think a lot of, like Prime said, a lot of people was expecting something of Deion, his coaching style, right? The flash that comes with it. He is who he is. At the end of the day, it wasn't going to be any screaming and yelling and Woody Hayes style snatching players on the sideline and he was going to talk to him a certain way. When the kid Edwards fumbled, a crucial fumble in the game, TCU goes down, they score. All Prime did was put his arms around the kid and say, look, man, don't even worry about that. Nice and easy. And when coaches speak to you, especially black young men, speak to you a certain way, you're going to get the best out of that individual player. And you know that playmaker. If you all that screaming and degrading them and treating them a certain way, that ain't going to work. That approach ain't going to work.
They love time now. They love time. And when I was there, Skip, I was in the office, and those boys come up in the office afterwards. Travis Hunter came to the office and after the practice, and Time told him, he said, hey, this was like Wednesday. He said, you ready? Your tongue won't be on the floor. I mean, I heard him say that in the office. And Travis said, I guarantee you can't put my tongue on the floor. 130 but some plays later, his tongue still wasn't on the floor.
144.
144.
144
It's
plays.
amazing. I mean, these kids were so ready for this game. I told them when I spoke to them, I said, every eye in this country will be on you. You will have an opportunity to shock the world. Shock the world.
Right.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, now I'm going to remind you about Shedeur. This is his 3rd year starting in college football. It wasn't big-time college football, but he was the conference freshman of the year. Then he was the HBCU player of the year last year. So don't discount what he's already got in his bank.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said, Skip.
All right.
But that was other levels. And there's levels to this, Skip. He just stepped up to the top.
He just stepped up to the top. All right, let's go Travis Hunter, because I want to hear what you guys have to say. Is he a cornerback by trade like Deion? Is he a 50-50 receiver cornerback? Go. What do you see?
But Key, listen, this is going to be the next. We talked about it, Skip. You said Key, receiver, first pick as a receiver. This will be the next dude that has any chance at being a first-pick receiver.
Yeah, Keyshawn was the last 1996.
I wouldn't even say receiver. I'd say skill position. Skill position side.
But son, ain't nobody gonna make no DB the #1 pick. Has it ever been?
Well, the closest.
Ain't never been. So son, just stay out of that.
Derek Stingley.
That's enough.
Derek Stingley went 3 from LSU after not playing a year. LSU to Houston 2 years ago.
Okay.
He went 3, which is high.
But right.
Denzel Ward went 4 to Cleveland.
Yep.
I said to Skip, I text Skip on Saturday, midway through the game, I said, this dude gonna be the #1 pick in the draft. And when you talk about the receiver position, he's not spending enough time to master the receiver position.
How can you?
No, it's not a bad thing. It's just that he's so dominant that you got to utilize him on both sides. The only other 2 players that I've seen be able to do it. Obviously, Prime toyed around with it because he could do it, right? He can fly in a helicopter, go play baseball, then come run a hitch, a screen, then go cover somebody. That's the only dude that can do that, right? Because he's a bad man. But Chris Gamble at Ohio State did it.
He did.
And Charles Woodson did a little bit at Michigan. This kid, in my eyes, for my money, and C. Wood is a Hall of Famer. Watching him and watching C. Wood very close, but for some reason, I think this kid has a chance to do it at a high level on both sides of the ball if somebody is willing to draft him and take that chance.
Okay, let's hear from the cornerback, Richard Sherman.
You know what was really cool about this, and it was cool to watch throughout the game, is people don't understand how difficult it is mentally. You understand the physical part of it, the 100-degree heat, man, he's got 144 snaps, but it's a full playbook, both sides. These are full playbooks. This isn't high school. This isn't, hey, we're running 12 plays here, they're running 12 plays here. They're running concepts. They got to communicate defensively. They got to adjust the formations, They got to communicate, hey, high, low, in and out, palms. And the play is really, it's really the most beautiful play, his interception. They were running zero coverage, it looked like. It could have been a different coverage. It could have been triangle or something, but it looked like zero coverage. And they passed off three guys. They passed off three guys, the two slants, and they passed off to the running back. And it took so much trust, so much discipline. That is not an easy play to make. There's teams in the National Football League, players in the National Football League who could not make that play under pressure, under duress, make that communication, execute it, and then intercept the ball. A lot of guys would knock that ball down. This guy is a playmaker. He's looking to intercept those passes and make huge plays. And so defensively, you see he has the instincts. He has the belief. He has the wherewithal. But offensively, you see he has the same thing. Like Key said, though, he's not getting enough reps. But I think somebody's going to take the chance just because he is elite on both sides of the ball. If you wanted him to just play corner, it'd be overkill. It'd be overkill because he's too great at the position. He's too talented. You'd be like, man, we're wasting him just using him as a DB. And that's what Prime's saying, because offensively, he could have had another touchdown on one of the best corners in the nation. It wasn't like he was playing against some slap. They took the best corner they have, one of the best corners in the nation, and they said, we need to put him on him.
Yeah. Okay, what I saw, Travis Hunter playing receiver, when the ball went up, you can just see body language. Yeah. It's mine. I'm going to go snatch this football.
That's
okay. You just don't see it that